today I had to get I don't know what is going on in the ethers. I mean, I know what's going on in the ethers, especially astrologically as we segue into Cancer season, but I was in a deep, I don't even know what that was for the past couple of days. I do not have my rings. Hold on, let me get my rings. I ain't got my rings on. I'm not here, bird. Hold on. We talking about Uranus though. Today it's all Uranus. Everything we can talk about with Uranus. Oh, we talking about Uranus though. Oh, today it's all Uranus. On my computer. Talking about Uranus. Uranus through the houses. Uranus, whatever you want to call it. It's happening today. You already know what it is. It's a rainstorm checking in. I am all Uranus. On my computer. Talking about Uranus. I am your Uranus through the houses. Whoa. Uranus. Whoa. Whatever. I am your cosmic rootwork astrologer specializing in evolutionary astrology. All right. Evolutionary astrology. I also talk a little bit about holistic astrology here as well. And yeah, I'm sorry, I had to check in real quick when you get to the 12th. Yeah, definitely come through. I'm sorry, it's giving very Uranus today because it's literally all over the place, and that is the Uranus energy that has been coming through for sure lately as we move into this different energy of Gemini to Cancer at the 29th degree of Gemini. Wow. Anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know quick announcements before we do jump into Uranus, this energy here. I actually just put out, if you want to go check that out, I will have that in the link in bio, but it'll also be on the channel link on my link tree if you want to see that. I am going to be doing a series, a 5-part, 5-week series on exploring your moon sign and your past lives. It's going to be a 5-week course. All right. And so right now I am doing pre-sales. So if you would like to have a slot in the course, it is only going to be 12 people. I'm only opening the slots for 12 people because I want to make the course very intimate. So if you're interested in learning about your moon sign, deeper into your moon sign and the past life incarnations that might have played out or are continuing to play out, and not only about it, but how to alchemize this energy within your birth chart, you definitely want to be a part of that course. Once again, the pre-sales are out right now, and I will be starting that, I think July 14th. So every Sunday we'll be doing an hour course, 5-part series. You can come in and ask any kind of questions you want to ask, specifically as it pertains to your own personal birth chart, and you will have homework. Okay, y'all gonna be getting homework as well, so definitely check that out. Right now it's only $88 for a 5-week course, and it definitely is, especially as we move through these karmic cycles, if you will, definitely permanent information that you can definitely use for the long run. All right. I also have other courses available on my PayHip as well. Readings, general readings, evolutionary astrology readings. I also, while Venus is in Cancer till July 11th, am going to be doing only specifically for astrocartography, but donation-based readings for astrocartography only specifically, everything else, of course. But if you're interested in understanding or wanting to know where to live, work, travel, move, anything like that, I just recently did a live with Mary Thompson. She's a realtor, and we did a reading for her actually before she went on her trip to Guyana. And so we just did a follow-up live about that and her experience, and then the reading that we did and stuff like that live. So, and also too, if you want to share, we do the reading and you want to ever share maybe some of the things that you experienced on that trip after our reading, you can also come on the channel and do that as well. Not everybody, all right? But some people, if it happened like that, then we do it like that, all right? So anyway, let's go ahead and get into Uranus. Like I said, all those other links are below, and talk a little bit about this energy. Now, when we talk about the overall energy of Uranus, okay, this is Aquarian energy, okay? This is what I like to call the upper echelon of energy, all right? And when I say the upper echelon, Uranian energy to me is, it really feels like, or it gives the energy of feeling like you are of the world, but not in the world. And Neptune can also be this energy too. Don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like Neptune can also be given that in the world, but not of the world kind of energy, whatever. It can do that too. But Uranus can also feel like that. It's the rebellion, you know. It challenges the status quo. It's very different in its eccentricities, and you know, the way it's mind. It's, you know, Uranian energy is like the higher mind. It's the higher octave of Mercury energy, right? Anything that has to do with technology, anything that has to do with, I would even say, lightning speed travel, right? You'll see with Uranus in this energy. Right now, currently in tropical astrology, we have Uranus in Taurus, specifically. So changing the way we travel, changing the way we, hey Vanessa, what's good, boo? Changing the way that we travel, changing our speech, changing our lands, okay? So many things that can change here, specifically with Uranus in here. Hold on one second. Oh, let me put this on real quick. Hold on. Okay. All right, let me get some more light here. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all. Ooh. I got the sneezes today. We're going to talk a little bit about, not today, but we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on here. But anyway, so it's rebellion, it's revolutionary, it's change. It's the opposite of Saturnian energy, okay? Even though Aquarius is also ruled by Saturn, you know, that restriction, that structural energy, you know, this Uranian energy kind of like, it I would say breaks the monotony when it comes in, okay? So think about that when we talk about this Uranus, of what that can do when we go through each house of like, okay, if I'm meant to shake this shit up, how can I shake this shit up in the best way? Okay? How can I shake this up in the most way? All right, with Uranus and Taurus, or Uranus, I would say through the houses, specifically. Now, this is also what we call humanitarian pursuits. This is where we're talking about collective groups. I have to put some lip gloss on. Collective groups, but I'm going to keep talking. Collective groups, organizations, and associations, humanitarian pursuits as well. And I want to say this. All right, because this could definitely be drinking the Kool-Aid energy. All right, you know, y'all know I like to be the cultier, right? I like to talk about cults, but it's true. It could be culty. All right, so I say this collective group, for better or for worse. All right, when we're talking about this energy here, this Uranian energy here, for better or for worse, you just never really know. And so it just depends on, I guess, what you would say the intentions behind the actual pursuits that there are, okay? So this is unpredictability and very extreme. So you'll see with Uranian energy, it can literally go from one extreme to another at the drop of a hat. You might see somebody going one way and you're like, okay, cool. You know what I like to think, what I just thought in my mind about what it could actually be like? Uranian energy reminds me of the stock markets, or like Bitcoin trading or something like that. Like you'll see like these quote unquote bull markets or volatile markets. You'll see something going up, and then boom, it switches. It goes a completely different way. So think about that when we are talking about this Uranian energy, and how it can, you know, switch at a drop of a hat, switch at a drop of a dime, with no, you know, you just would have never known. You know what I'm saying? And this can be in multiple areas of the life. Okay, so if we're talking about Uranus in the first house, all right, Uranus, or first house being the self, the ways in which we are presenting ourselves out into the world. I like to think as Uranus as the first house is somebody who, I mean, because I feel like first house is something that you're learning to be. Like, yes, your appearance can be your first house. Yes, the way you look and the things, but your first house is also your perspective. It's how you see the world through the experiences or things that are happening around you in the world, okay? So when I think of Uranus in the first house, I think of somebody who is, for example, trying to embrace their eccentricities. I don't know if I'm saying it, but somebody who might be a little bit more eccentric, you know, they might kind of go against the grain. They might kind of go against the system. They're just different, very different in energy, different in the ways in which they think, the ways in which they feel, the ways in which they see the world. They can definitely be opposite, like really against the patriarchy, really against the societal norms and things like that. You could definitely see somebody who's just like completely left, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's invigorating, actually. I think it's a beautiful thing to be that way, especially in a world that tells you to be like this. But I think the first house is learning how to be that. This is the change bringers. You are meant to bring change into people's lives. You are meant to bring change into really it's just by you just being you. Like it's really you embracing like these parts of yourself that is different, that is going to bring change around you. So if you ever felt restricted and like maybe like the very quirky parts of yourself, or somebody told you like, oh my God, that's weird, oh my God, you're so weird, oh, or people just kind of like making you feel like it's you having to embrace those things, because people want to be that, right? Like people wish they could be that, especially living in a world where when we live in a world where everybody kind of wants to be alike, everybody wants to kind of sound the same. Also, too, I want to say that Uranus also not only does it have to do with technology, but it has to do with frequency. So if you're into music, okay, Uranus in the first house. If you're into music, I would definitely say, or it's something that you've thought about being into, please, we need to hear your music. All right, and I say that all to say, this is where you can see people who are like Missy Elliott's of the generation, right? And I don't want to, okay, let me not do that, because I cannot stand when people compare artists to other artists. Granted, I know sometimes people can sound similar to, but I'm like, and this, I can see Uranus being like, don't tell me I sound like anybody else. So like, please don't tell me I sound like anybody else. Like that's Uranus. I want to be different. Like I want to have a new sound. I want to have a different sound. I want to dress differently, talk differently, speak differently, look differently. Like that's Uranus energy, okay? So you could definitely see that here. Now, also too, before I move on to Uranus in the second house, I just want to say with Uranus in the first house, be careful with accidents, okay? You can be accident prone with Uranus in the first house. You can find yourself, like, especially when it comes to the body, getting into like catastrophic like accidents, like out of nowhere. Like your body can go through, or you can see somebody that goes through a lot of change in like their weight. So maybe they're like physically one time. Makes me think of Mike Tyson with Uranus in the first house. He's truly a different type of human. He's apparently really clumsy. Yeah, no, for real. Honestly, I know about Mike Tyson, but in I forget who he was dating. What's her name? I forget. Hi, Ta. Happy Thursday. We about to move into this Capricorn full moon. Capricorn's like, let's get it together, right? But yeah, so you'll see this energy here where it's like, just got to be careful right here. Hey, Starseed. Robin Givens. Yes. I also have in the 12th. Sunaru in the 12th. Oh, Uranus? Is that Uranus in the 12th? I've never heard it like that. Yes, Robin Givens. That's usually when I've heard about Mike Tyson. Was like, I don't know what that was, Starseed, but I like Sunaru, but Uranus in the 12th house. It's a couple people that came in here with Uranus in the 12th house, but we're going to get to that. We're about to move to the second house, but I was talking about, Vanessa brought up Mike Tyson having Uranus in the first house. Uranus in the first house. And what that energy could have like looked like, or what that energy could have felt like there. And I was talking about like being accident prone. But Robin Givens is usually when I've heard about like Mike Tyson and them getting into their whole sabbatical and stuff like that, toboggle, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, definitely. And also too, one more thing before we move on to the second house is the outsider. Okay, Uranus in the second or in the first house can feel very like, yes, it was a mess, can feel very outsider energy. You can see somebody who feels very like, you know, this isn't really my tribe, like these aren't really my people, like I don't really know if, you know, they're like always kind of like on the outside looking in, never really in a group, around groups, but never really in a group. Maybe can move through groups. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to say Uranus in the first house. There's nothing wrong with you being kind of like all over the place in groups. It just, you never really, you change and shift so much that like your groups and associations can look very different because it's like opposing the seventh house, which is the opposite of the first house, which is like your intimate connections and relationships and things like that. So, you know, it can vary a little bit. Now, if we are talking about Uranus in the second house, I always spend so much time on the first house. I know people be like, you always spend so much time on the first house, but you never do you gotta. Okay, so we're moving on to the second house. If you do have or happen to have Uranus in the second house, you could definitely see somebody. Uranus or second house energy is the Taurus house. This has to do with your values, specifically valuables, but also your internal value, like what you think about yourself, what you believe yourself to be. But it can also be your physical values, the things that you have, the things that you have acquired, whether that's land, because that's very Taurian energy, whether that's physical things that you have, like I have this bag here. Check my bag out. And thank you, Alma, my girl. There's this lip gloss here, just things, you know, the acquired of things, this home, things, you feel me? That you can actually have here. Now, Uranus, it can be honestly a lot of value shifts here with Uranus in the second house. You could feel like your value shifts a lot. And I'll say this, all right. I would even go to say that Uranus in the second house, a lot of times has to, as we all do, right? But has to learn that your value is not made up from other people. Like your values shift, or maybe you've had like this projection of like what you should deem valuable, what you should deem worthy, or like I'm seeing somebody, especially with Uranus in the second house, who maybe was told like, you have to get the home and you have to get this job and you have to do these things in order to be successful. And Uranus in the second house is like, as they go throughout life, especially when it comes to their values, is like, do I have to do these things? Do I have to, you know, make this kind of money? You know, because second house also has to do with money, like money that you're making on a day-to-day basis. Do I have to resonate with this type of belief in order to have these things? Like it's a lot of shifts that happen. It's a lot of like, you'll have like these chance, I would even say, encounters with people that have you shift these mentalities and these mindsets. You'll go from like thinking that you had to do something in order to acquire something, and then shift into a completely new mindset. Like, oh, actually, no, I don't have to do those things in order to like have these things. Like my worth is this, you know, or now I kind of believe this instead of this, or now I feel like I have to, or now I feel like I can do this in order to acquire, especially material gains or material things. You can also experience, especially with Uranus in the second house, maybe people giving things to you out of nowhere. Like, you know, this could be somebody, you know, because it's opposing your, hold on, is it? Yes. Well, no. Yes, it's opposing your 8th house. All right, the Scorpio house. So, you know, this could be like, for example, a passing of somebody in the family, even if it's not your own personal family. Okay, this could be people, neighbors. This could be, you know, maybe people that you considered as family or whatever, and somebody passes away and out of nowhere they giving you an inheritance of something. Inheritance doesn't always have to be money, all right? This can be things, right? And second house is things that you have, or things or possessions that you acquire, or possessions that you have. Okay, so just keep that in mind when it comes to Uranus in the second house as well. You can also make money in very unique ways. Hold on, I'm going to turn this fan. I'm going to still keep talking though. You can also make money in very unique ways with Uranus in the second house. You can make money through the internet, for example. So maybe you have an internet or online business where you make money, or maybe, I don't know, you sell clothes, or you make things and create things that are like very different, or maybe you teach, I don't know, music classes or something like that. Like, it's not, the ways in which you make money are not traditional. And I'm gonna say this, okay? I'm gonna hold your hands when I say this. I love when people say that. I'm gonna hold your hand when I say this. All right, Uranus in the 9th house. I'm sorry, we're not there yet. In the second house, all right? You making money in a traditional way, or acquiring possessions in a traditional way, is probably going to drive you insane. I'm just going to say that right now. You have to, the ways in which you acquire your possessions, your values, your valuables, are going to have to be in ways that are uniquely good to you. All right. I don't know why I just got like a vision in my head. Yes, absolutely. I don't know why I just got a vision in my head of like a gamer, like somebody who plays video games. You know what I mean? And they love video games. They love video games, right? And everybody's in their life has told them, like, you can't make money. Like, you need to get a real job. You need to get a real job. Oh my God, Uranus in the second house, you need to get a real job. And all of a sudden, Uranus in the second house is playing video games and streaming, going live on Twitch or some shit. I don't know. And then they blow the fuck up, right? Because it's like, this is their passion. This is something that they're, curious about. It's different, and not everybody's out here, doing the thing online. You know what I'm saying? So like, these are the ways in which like that could also play out for specifically Uranus in the second house. So dare to be different when it comes to the ways in which you go about, the finances and things like that. Granted, as we start to move into these other times, those things are going to change. These are like the Bitcoins as well too. This is the Uranus energy, is like work smarter, not harder kind of energy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm going to try to find a way to like, grease the system in some way. Like, I'm going to find a way to like find a hole in the system to where I can make this work for me and me not having to work for it. That's the rebellion. Okay. And then also to take that and provide what I can to like maybe the communities around me, you know what I mean? Or provide the resources that I can to like the communities around me. So that's what you can see with the second house. Now, when we're talking about the Uranus in the third house, Uranus in the third house is the Gemini house, okay? This has to do with all forms of communication, short distance travel, uncle, sister, brother, cousin, This is where we talk about our neighborhoods that we grew up in, okay? This is where we talk about our environments, our immediate environments as well. Second house is more so the things that you consume, or the things that you put into your mouth, because it is Taurus. I would like to say that third house is media and the ways in which you think, the ways in which you're taking in information. So you have your Mercury sign, right? The ways in which you speak and the ways in which you communicate, and also taking information. But third house also supports that Mercury sign, okay? So look into your Mercury to see how your mental capacities also take in and receive information as well. It'll give you a lot of info also to your Mercury sign, okay, and house as well. So when we talk about third house energy, this is, I say this, all right? I don't know why I like to say it. I'm going to say this. I'm going to hold your hand. No, I'm going to say this. Third house energy, Uranus energy in the third house is very, 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 I would even like to say that it can destroy with their words. They can build with their words, but they can also destroy with their words. They can have a very inspired space of action when it comes to the ways in which they communicate. So like, I don't know. I honestly like to say like, this is like, I would even go to say that this is like the voice of anarchy, right? Like with Uranus in the third house, right? Like the way they speak is very different You know, a lot of people can't really put like a thumb to like what is going to fly out their mouth or what it is that they're going to say. Especially when it comes to like your mental capacities, because third house, like I said, is like the mental capacities. You could be thinking one way about doing something, and then you completely thinking in a whole completely different way. You know what I mean? There can be a lot of encounters, especially when it comes to your brothers, uncles, sisters, cousins, that can be a little different. Maybe, you know, this is somebody, maybe you'll see that maybe lived with their uncles, brothers and sisters or something like that. Maybe you didn't have like a traditional family or a communal unit. Maybe you lived with friends, you know, growing up, or maybe you lived with your, I don't know, maybe you lived away from your family. Maybe you didn't live in your family dynamic. Maybe you were adopted growing up as well with Uranus in the third house. Maybe something happened when you were a baby and you had to go and live with some other family, or maybe you had a family member or something like that who wasn't able to fully be there to take care of you. So you had to go and live with someone else or be, you know what I'm saying? So these are some of the things that could play out with third house here. Also too, many trips, a lot of trips, especially short distance trips or trips that are not too far from where you were born. This is somebody exploring, like maybe having chance encounters in their neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like you go for a walk and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, nobody at all. Something just comes out and like, you know, somebody drives into a tree. I don't know. Or you meet a deer. I don't know. Like just like you walk outside and you just start having like these interesting encounters or interesting like one-off chances that you meet somebody like literally out of nowhere and they literally change your entire life. And you never would have saw it coming had you walked outside to go, you know, go to this place or go see, you know, this person, whatever the case may be. All right. So this is what you'll see with, this is definitely what you'll see with Uranus in the third house here. You can also see somebody who might even live alone with Uranus in the third house as well, or either living alone or living amongst community here. But there's definitely like a change in environment, or maybe just like moving a lot, moving neighborhoods, moving places a lot. Like there was a lot of like extra movement and energy here. Now, when we talk about Uranus in the fourth house, we're talking about, now you could have physically moved homes frequently because fourth house is Cancer house. It is home, family, roots. This has to do with your childhood. This has to do with your relationship to your mother. Okay, and also your, you know, it's the IC is also housed here too. So this can have to do with your ancestry. All right, I would go to say that ancestors could have definitely been a little bit on the revolutionary side of the storyline. Or there could just be some very shocking information that comes out from your ancestral line as well here too, with Uranus going through the fourth house. There could be a very interesting relationship to the mother as well with Uranus in the fourth house. A very like, Uranus in the fourth house can feel like, I would even go to say like a love-hate relationship with the mother. There's like, one minute you and your mom could be like this, and the next minute you and your mom could be like in two different ways and directions and things like that. This could also be a mothership or divine feminines in the family who could have kind of been in and out of one's life or even home. And if they are in the home, sometimes could have been like a little bit aloof and things. Or if not that, you could have had a mother that was just very eccentric. Maybe she was ahead of her time as well. Maybe she kind of had like the ways in which she thought about the world, the ways in which she thought about life was just kind of different. And maybe kind of giving you those ideals as well. And that's like maybe like a big form or a big part of your life that you carry along with you as well here too. Also too, with Uranus in the fourth house, moving quickly, sudden moves, having to move from one place, having to move to another place, Whether that's from a house, that's, moving from a house, moving to, this could be anywhere, sometimes not even homes, different places and stuff like that you can be with Uranus in the fourth house. Definitely disruptive, a lot of disruptive patterns that could have been formed in the home as well that were maybe erratic, extremely erratic, that even could have like psychologically changed your mental process and things like that. Because like I said, Uranus is the higher form of Mercury. So things that have happened in the home that just could have mentally shifted your mind, mentally or even physically shifted your spiritual body as well. With Uranus in the fourth house, needing freedom and a sense of freedom. Uranus in the fourth house, you will definitely see somebody who might be better off. It's not that you can't live amongst community, but you probably need your own space to kind of like decompress and be off in your own energy a lot of the time, because being around a lot of people sometimes can be a little overwhelming for Uranus in the fourth house. So you might need space and time off on your own, into your own as well. But definitely focus on that relationship with the mother here with Uranus in the fourth house. Now, if we're talking about Uranus in the fifth house, this energy has to do with your creative endeavors. It's the Leo house. This is all things creative, all forms of, whether that's a physical creative thing, as i.e. pregnancies, or like an actual creative project that you're working on. This has to do with risk-taking, gambling. This has to do with your romantic interests and partnerships. And this also has to do with your firstborn as well, with the firstborn. Or your relationship. I would even go deeper to say your relationship to your mother, or how your mother could have raised you as well. But usually this is how you see how you're going to raise your own kids or your first child, and the energy of your first child. It doesn't have to necessarily be the sign in the first house. Just saying, just kind of like the energy that's playing out as you are raising your own kid. All right. So when we see Uranus in the fifth house, we'll see somebody who usually is a creative genius. Not gonna hold you. All right. Creative geniuses. Definitely somebody who is a bit of an entrepreneur, is kind of wants to do their own thing. They don't really want somebody telling them what to do or how to do it, with Uranus in the fifth house. There could definitely be somebody who either works with kids with Uranus in the fifth house, or somebody who maybe kids are an inspiration to some of the things that they do or the work that they do here. Risk-taking, like I said, gambling. You just want to be careful with. All right, the first thing that's coming to mind with Uranus in the fourth or the fifth house is, I'll try anything once. Now, this could work for your benefits. This could work for your detriment. All right. Now, when it comes to like gambling and, maybe doing recreational things like drugs, sex, and alcohol, rock and roll lifestyle might won't make it. No Gucci Mane. All right. Just be careful with the experimental drugs and uses and things, because this is like somebody who, for example, can like hit something one time and then become addicted to it. So just be careful with the experimental. What's the matter, baby? What's wrong? What's wrong? I'm sorry, y'all, baby. What's wrong? They've been weeping. I don't know what's going on. They've been weeping. There's a storm coming over this way. Actually, 2 cyclones is coming this way. So, yeah, still awaiting that to come through. But anyway, risk-taking, gambling, like I said, drugs, sex, and alcohol. Just want to be careful with that, but definitely has like that creative genius mind. Very untraditional in romantic relationships. I'll say this. This is where you can see somebody maybe who is exploring, instead of like monogamous relationships with Uranus in the fifth house, you can see somebody who might be exploring like poly relationships or just different styles of relationships. As you can also see somebody here who is in relationship with their friends or in relationships with their tribes and community members and things like that. Now, or just has a different way of seeing like romantic interest in relationships here with Uranus in the 5th house for sure. And also too, when it comes to like you raising your own kids, you could be very different in the ways in which you like go about raising your kids. Like instead of raising your kids, like maybe you and your partner, or you solo, you might want to be like solo in raising your kids, or you have a tribe of people that are helping you kind of raise your kids and stuff like that. You'll see with Uranus in the 5th house, it's very different here. Also too, animals as well. I know we look at 6th house, but 5th house can also rule kids are animals as well here too. So you might have like different kinds of animals as well here, and things like that you can definitely see here with it. Also too, childbirth can be a little shocking. You could be, now I'll say this, I'm not saying that Uranus in the 5th house is fertile, but you could definitely see somebody here that like kind of gets pregnant out of nowhere. And I know somebody was like, oh, you get pregnant out of nowhere, but just saying that if you wasn't planning on having a child, and you planning on having no babies, and you have Uranus here, this could be like, one great fall, one great slip, right? And boom, now you got a baby, now you're pregnant. So just be careful if that's not something that you plan on doing when it comes to children, it comes to babies and stuff like that. Now, if you happen to have Uranus in the 6th house, you can definitely see this energy is very eccentric daily life. You need variety in your daily life, okay? 6th house is the Virgo house. It's the day-to-day routines, activities. This has to do with the work that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, meditations. This has to do with also the taboo interests that you're interested in as well. But this is like day-to-day things that you're doing for your health and wellness and things. And spiritually, what you're doing for your body and things. And so you need like I said, it's kind of eccentric with, Uranus in the 6th house. It needs kind of different things to do. So if you're not having the same workout routine every single day, maybe you're doing like yoga one day, and then you're doing dance another day, and then you're doing like, I don't know, hot yoga one day, and then you're doing like this, so you gotta switch it up a little bit with Uranus in the 6th house here. You need the variety. Every day needs to feel like a new type of day. You're creating these days that are like just very different than the day before. If you feel yourself like in routine every single day, and you feel yourself doing the same things every single day, you're waking up, going to work, coming home, fixing a little dinner, going to sleep, that is going to drive your mental health and physical health insane, okay? So you need things that are a little bit different with Uranus in the 6th house here, okay? So eccentric daily life, needing fresh and new perspective. Workout exercises as well too, very different. I talk about breakthroughs in health. Maybe you're breaking a generational cycle when it comes to like your health, and even specifically in your family with Uranus in the 6th house. So maybe your family has always had like diabetes or something, or have had like extreme mental health issues and stuff, and you come in to like eradicate what that looks like for you and what it looks like for your family. So maybe now you're taking your health very seriously, but you're doing it from a different perspective. You're learning through maybe like spirituality or different forms of alternative healing modalities. Maybe you become an herbalist or something like that can help heal you and your community or the people around you. So those things that you can see here with Uranus in the 6th house. Now, Uranus in the 7th house has to do with your relationships, all right? This has to do with different ways of seeing things in your relationships, okay? You see things different. You might see things a lot differently from your partner. Y'all might be completely opposites. Or you attract people that make you think outside the box, all right, with Uranus in the 7th house. You might attract people who are this is a little different in thought, ideas, things, like I said, very eccentric. They make you think in new ways, act in different ways. They maybe make you look at relationships in different kind of ways. So maybe if you are, once again, used to being in monogamous kind of relationships. And like I said, this doesn't have to do with monogamy. These are all just examples. It doesn't have to be monogamy specifically, but they're just different forms and different ways of being. And Uranus can be it's just non-traditional. It's not like Saturnian energy. It's not like by the book. It's like, nah, I kind of want to do this a little differently, you know? So this is somebody who might have, like, I don't know, multiple wives. I don't know, you know, things like that. Or this is somebody who looks at their business encounters differently, because 7th house is also business. 7th house also has to do with intimate relationships and connections and things like that. They're mirroring energy, people who mirror you as well. It's the Libra house, all right? And this is also contractual agreements, all right? Whether that's physical contractual agreements or that's actual, like, spiritual contractual agreements, okay? So you might have contractual agreements spiritually of people who make you do things a little bit differently than you're used to, okay? You definitely could see that with Uranus in the 7th house. They come into your life, literally transform your whole entire life. Edges gone, wig blown, you know, like, it's just like, after you meet these said people in your life, you're never the same. Things look completely different. Like, who am I now that I've met these people and I've experienced these things and my mind has changed and I have these new thoughts and I have, like, it's different now. It's different now, boo. You know, so, like, what are you going to do with that information? All right. What's up, B? No, for real. Like, let's talk about it. All right. So this is what you could see with Uranus in the 7th house. Unconventional relationships is what I put down. Different types of contracts. Also, too, you could see with these relationships. I know y'all don't want to hear it. But I'm going to go ahead and say it. All right. You could see somebody who has experienced relationships that are quickly. So somebody who comes together very quickly, but then ends very quickly. So, like, it starts off all hot. You know, it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. Da 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 da. It's hot and heavy. Then all of a sudden something happens and it quickly dissolves. Because Uranus is quick. It's like quick moving. It's over here 1 minute and then it's over there. I know you're probably looking at this and be like, but what? Aquarius is a fixed sign. It's fixed air, but it's still air. Okay? So this rulership is going to play out the same energies, not the same energies, but similar energies to its, I would say, its planet partner, I guess you could say. And with Uranus energy or with Aquarian energy, yeah, it could be fixed on something for a sec. You know what I mean? It could be fixed air-wise. It could be locked in air-wise, but it can experience something different and be like, actually, nah, I want this. Or I'm going this way. Or mentally, I'm going to go this way instead. You know? So you have to think about that when we think about this energy. So 7th house, yeah, you could be in that relationship and it's great, right? But then, you know, you end up, you know, experiencing in that relationship or what you needed or what you got from that relationship. You got what you needed. And not in like a transactional way, but just like you've learned the lesson that you needed to, or you fulfilled that specific contract in that relationship. And now it's time for you to move on. So just as quickly as it started is now, you know, turning into something else. And that's how it's going to be, or that's how it's ended in this particular lifetime. So that's something you can see here as well, too. Now, when it comes to needing individuality as well in the 7th house, you need your independence with Uranus in the 7th house. You need to kind of be able to do your own thing. If you feel like things are too locked and loaded with Uranus in the 7th house, you could feel like you want to hide. You could feel like you want to run away. You could feel like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this because this is like, you know. So you just need your level of independence. Like basically two people coming together that have their own. And when I say that, I mean, I am an individual, you are an individual, and we're coming together and we're in co-collaboration together in this relationship versus it being like a merger, okay? You know, we're merging together or whatever. No, we're not merging together. We are two separate individuals coming into a connection with each other and learning each other and things like that. So you could definitely see that here. Breaking of contractual agreements, you can also see that as well here too. So maybe you've had like a karmic relationship in a past or previous incarnation. You end up meeting somebody and now you could find that these karmic relationships, especially when it comes to like intimate partnerships, maybe you're closing out old cycles from previous incarnations of a relationship. All right. I would even go to say, look to see what's happening in that 12th house. Okay. I don't go to even say that. Look to see what's happening in that 12th house. All right. With Uranus in the 7th house. I mean, granted, 7th house is an angular house. It has to do with first, 4th, 7th, 12th. First, 4th, 7th, 10th. All right. So this has to do with like the core roots of the soul. But 12th house is like that past life energy. All right. So you definitely want to check that out and make sure. Also, too, like I said in the beginning, we are doing a course series. Let me go ahead and put my drop it like it's hot real quick. We are doing a 5-week course series on your moon sign and your past lives. So if you're interested in learning about that, you can definitely check that out. The link will be below after this live is over. But it is on my Linktree/Rainy Storm if you're interested in learning about that, if we are talking about past lives. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to Uranus in the 8th house. Now, Uranus in the 8th house can be invigorating for some. All right. Because it is the 8th that we're talking about here. All right. So let's not get too excited. But, at the same time, I see somebody with Uranus in the 8th house being like very sexually liberated. And when I say sexually liberated, I mean I'm not just talking about physical sex, even though it could have to do with sex. Yes, we do talk about sex on here. I mean, how did we get here? All right, just saying. People be so like, oh my God, you're talking about sex? Crazy. Why would you talk about sex? Anyway, like sex. All right. Anyway, so I was saying, carrying on. Somebody who could feel sexually liberated with 8th house here. Because Uranus kind of switches the things up, all right? It feels sexually free, maybe feeling sexually open, wanting to experiment, wanting to explore, wanting to try new things. But I will say this, you can use your sexual energy for powerful things. Just like you can use your emotion for powerful things. You can use your sexual energy for powerful things. Yes, Ta is very, very kinky. That's why I said sexually free, sexually liberated. This is where you can see the BDSMs. The BDSMs. For those of y'all that's in the BDSM, this is where you can see the BDSMs. This is where you can see no, but for real, you can see people who are into like things like BDSM. You can see people who are into like very like, this is not giving Manila. I was going to say Manila. This is where you're not seeing Manila. No, this is where you're going to see people who are not into like vanilla sex. Like they want to try things. Maybe they have like a foot fetish or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can see people who are like, or into, toys. Thank you, Todd. You got Uranus in the, what you got Uranus? Where's your Uranus? You seem to know a little bit more than the sun, I got Uranus, Lilith in the 8th house. We remove boundaries with our lovers. Oh. Well. Hello. I'm not. But for real though, it's like they want to open it. It's a Scorpio house, right? Scorpio is the deep depths, the dark depths that nobody really wants to go to. I like to think of Scorpio as the basement, right? To me, 12th house is more like the attic. 8th house is the basement. It's the thing that like people will like sneak into and like cut on the lights, but then run out of in the basement, like run up the stairs quickly out of because of like, I think something's like behind me chasing me type shit. But Scorpio lives in that basement, okay, in that 8th house. All right, this is where we see our fears, inheritances, death, sex, rebirth, taboo interests, right? Our hidden fears, the things that we don't want to talk about, but it's there, sitting up in that basement, all right? Very much so. Erotic, exotic, eros, very sexual, domineering. Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm getting so hot. Just let me turn the fan up a little bit. Hold on. Let me turn the fan a little bit. It's a little hot in here. No Nelly. It's a little hot. Thinking about it. Anyway, a little hot. So with this energy here, yes, it can be the unveiling of those things. It's using your sexual energy or using the cycles. Even people who have experienced, you can see people who have experienced like extreme death cycles, whether that's physical death or spiritual deaths as well. Having to go through that and being able to speak about those things, being able to talk about those things with others and things. I was like, damn, I can't feel this shit hot as hell up in here. Because I got my computer. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Let me scoot this. Because I didn't want to. Okay. So, yeah, you could definitely see this here with, the 8th house energy. You can also see, I would even say intimacy can look very different for Uranus in the 8th house. It's not to say that Uranus in the 8th house is not connected to, it's very much so connected to intimacy, but the way it goes about intimacy is, I wouldn't even say a little erratic, okay? So you could see somebody, like I said, because Uranus can go multiple ways. It can go this way very quickly, and then it can go that way very quickly, okay? So the ways in which it explores intimacy is, I don't want to say it. Como dice? No, yes. It can be dark, but I'm trying to think of the word for it. Like, it can be dark, cause like again, it's Scorpio, so it goes very, very deep, and then it pulls out the thing, right? It pulls out what it needs, right? It's explorative. I'm like, bro, it's on the tip of my tongue, y'all. I promise you, I'm trying to get to the nitty gritty. It's dark, but it's healing at the same time, right? And like I said, that's why I made that joke at the beginning, because I know people don't necessarily like to talk about sex, but sex is an instrument. Why do you think they put so much money into the porn industry? Why do you think that there's so much energy that goes into the porn industry? Like your sexual energy is extremely powerful. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, we take you to hell to see your God. Oh. Well. Thank you, Uranus in the 8th house. And we take you to hell to see your God. Well, that is extreme. It's definitely giving extreme. Like I say, you can go from one extreme to the next here with Uranus in the 8th house. This is where you can see I would even go to say that's where I was getting a masochist. That's where it was. Masochist is the word. I was like, what is the word? In masochist, somebody who might enjoy extremes in regards to pain, whether that's physical pain or even emotional pain as well. Now, when I say can take, I'm not saying that they're meant to take these things, but have seen and experienced a lot of emotional pain or a lot of physical pain or play with physical and even sometimes emotional pain. Now, this can be seen in some forms, not all, okay, as a conduit to healing, okay? So just keep this in mind when we are talking about Uranus here, all right? Because it, like I said, it completely revolutionizes, it completely changes the status quo of it can turn one thing to another. It honestly really does be given alchemy with Uranus here, all right? When it comes to inheritances, you can definitely see like an inheritance that is also being given in some way, shape, or form, like out of nowhere, something comes out of nowhere, and you maybe are given like, I don't know, financials or houses or, you know, a gift from an ancestors. So many people have hidden gifts that are not aware of that requires, hold on, let me read the rest of this. I'm sorry, I have my thing up. That requires a journey through the root chakra to free what they are bounded. We are very free beings, very, very free, very, very, very free here. As I said, that liberation with Uranus. Is it raining? I think it is raining. With Uranus in this 8th house, it kind of opens you up. It opens you where once something was hidden, especially in the 8th house, Uranus kind of like pulls out the stops. It's like, okay, no, take this off, take this off, take this off, take this out, take this out. No, let me strip you, right? Let me strip you of all these things that have made you, or that have tried to make you, but like, who are you? Who are you without the bounds of society? You know, Uranus will ask. And with the 8th house, it is these things, right? Definitely walks with the transformative energy, you know, transformative spirit, transformative body, right? It can be very polarizing as well. Very, very polarizing for some. People might not be able to handle this energy, okay? Physically, not just physically, but emotionally be able to. It can be very triggering for some with Uranus in the 8th house. Especially if your Uranus sits in somebody's 8th, specifically their 8th house, or hits, you know, some energies in their chart. They might feel a little triggered specifically by this energy. So just keep that in mind. Because now they're having to question, right? You're having to question these parts of yourself. Also, too, with Uranus in the 8th house, it can, like I said, I know I kind of laughed and joked about it, but like when we're talking about sex, and even death, I know that those are two topics that people are very like, kind of like, it's taboo, right? If we're talking about the 8th house, it's very taboo here. We live in a society where, well, not all of society, but specifically America, is very, in some places also too, especially when it comes to sex. Death is a little bit different in different countries, as what I'm experiencing and finding out now, but sex is something that I think we shy away from or hide away from. It is known to be seen as something that is ugly, or we can do it behind closed doors, but not in the front of the doors. Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is something that is openly expressed with, or can be openly expressed with, 8th house energy as well here too. And so, yeah, that's a little bit about it. Very also too connected psychologically, because 8th house has to do with your psyche, your mental capacities, the certain patterns that you have mentally in your mind, in your head. Uranus in the 8th house can break up those psychological patterns. Now, I will say this. Sometimes it can seem like mentally you feel and can feel like maybe mentally kind of going a little, can be a little erratic on the mental. So sometimes you might experience people like bouts of depression. So like you can go into like these very dark, deep, dark spaces and then come out of these dark spaces renewed or rebirthed from going into the darkness and then coming back into the light. So you'll find like psychologically sometimes there'll be like these bouts. I'll just say maybe surrounding yourself with, especially in your physical space, bright things, or just keeping like I like to say like keeping the doors or the windows, like getting natural light, making sure you're spending time in the sun, even if you don't want your home to be bright, making sure you're spending time in the sun, you know, making sure that you're getting like the minerals and vitamins and things like that you need specifically so your mental doesn't like drive you. What was you saying, boo? It says Americans viewed as nasty, hence doing the nasty. Exactly. It's like we're calling sex like nasty, or it's like blasphemy or impure to talk about sex, but that's how we got here. You know what I mean? Like it's, you know, I kind of want to explore that notion. Maybe we should go into more platonic themes, right? A lot of people come to the channel for platonic themes here. So maybe we should talk a little bit more about Pluto as well, and like Scorpio's sexual nature and things, because it's just such an interesting feat to explore and talk about, especially when it comes to like sensuality and sexuality. But another day, another time, y'all. Okay, now if we talk about Uranus in the 9th house, all right, 9th house being the Sagittarius house of long distance travel. This has to do with foreign trade, currency, travel. This has to do with, long distance travel, philosophy, higher education, higher learning. This has to do any form of philosophy, really, how you think, religion, and also has to do with faith-based things. Now, when we're talking about Uranus in the 9th house, okay, you could be exploring different things. You know, maybe you into Buddhism, but you're also into Christianity. And even if you're not like devout into these things, maybe you have like a palette, right? You have a plethora of knowledge and things that you like to explore. You're not just fixated to like one thing or one way, shape, or form of being. Like, you explore all the modes of what this could look like and things like that as well too. You could also live in a foreign place. So the places you were born, you probably live or could actually live in a foreign country that's completely different from the place that you were raised. Also too, what I've seen, especially doing readings here as well. And let me think. You know, it makes sense because it is opposite 3rd house energy, which is the Gemini energy, which is neighborhoods. I've seen that people are with Uranus in the 9th house also there's some people who were adopted as well with Uranus here. I talked a little bit about that in the 3rd house, but you could see people who are like adopted or, like I said, maybe lived in a foreign place, grew up in a foreign place, you know, just have different styles or types or ideals than like what maybe they grew up in or what they were raised in, or they end up switching like their belief systems, you know, as they get older and stuff like that. So one way they used to resonate, they don't resonate with that anymore. Now they kind of resonate with this thing. So you definitely see that with Uranus in the 9th house as well here too. Definitely exploring like different thoughts, ideas, like I said, ways or modes of being. Higher education. So you might kind of go the unconventional route, especially when it comes to like learning and education. So this is where you'll see somebody, instead of going to like an institution, they'll go to like a trade school, or they'll go to YouTube University. You know what I'm saying? It says 9th house placement. I'm trying to find the common thread in all theology and astrology. Definitely. Unconventional ways of studying and being and thinking. I think astrology, especially if we're talking about 9th house energy here, it helps you recognize, and one thing that I've noticed, especially just with studying astrology, it helps you recognize patterns of being and patterns of thought. So, you know, if we're talking about even speaking evolutionary astrology speaking, you can see, hey, I wonder if change of belief comes from questioning due to experience. Most definitely. I mean, 9th house is experience. It's the ways you elaborate on your experience. So, for example, you go to, I could use myself as an example. You know, I don't have Uranus in the 9th house, but like this particularly as an example, you know, I think me, and you can learn more about this on my Astro traveling series that I've been doing. And talking about, which I will be posting a little bit more about updates about that and some of the things that I've learned. But being and living in America, right? And being in America and understanding like the ideology of living in America, growing up in America, learning what you know from, you know, school and the ways in which we've learned and studied things, but then moving and going to a completely different country and realizing the things that they have told us are completely different than the actual lived experience to living in a different country. So things like that, you know, like, wait a minute, like, what's happening? I'm curious to know what line you're on now. Right now, I am on my MC and North Node line in Sagittarius. So I'm on my destiny line right now. And it's been quite eye-opening and interesting. I do have some other like aspect placements, like Pluto, my ascendant, and then I'm on my Venus, not too far from my Venus either, but the main line is the MC North Node line here specifically. So it's been very interesting living in this space. Now with ninth house, definitely here does have to do. So example, if you had like a certain belief growing up, or maybe you, for example, grew up and you were a part of like some type of religion. You grew up in like Christianity or something, for example. And if you're a Christian, you hearing this shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just be cool, all right? Just be cool, all right? It's just an example. Maybe your whole entire life you heard that you were supposed to be a part of this religion or culture in order to, you know, cross the golden gates and stuff. And, you know, but when you get older and you start experiencing life, you're like, wait a minute, this ain't what I believe. Like, I don't believe that. I ain't trying to get baptized. You know what I'm saying? Like, I believe in this, and this. So your perspective as you go through life shifts and changes as you begin to learn. Like I said, ninth house is higher education. So the more you know what I mean? The more you know, the more you explore, the more knowledge that you have. And it's not just from you reading about stuff. Ninth house, that's third house energy. It's the Gemini energy. You're reading about stuff, or you're learning from like your immediate environment, right? Gemini is like taking things from its environment. Ninth house is actually going the distance, right? Going to travel to the place. You've been learning Thai language. Now you go to, you know what I'm saying, Thailand, and you go live in a place for a couple of months, you know what I'm saying, to a year. Like you go off to, and by that, with Uranus here, it changes your thoughts, it changes your beliefs, it changes your ideals. You know, you're like, oh shit, like I'm forever changed because I went on this journey, or I pursued this thing, like I'm actually in the lived experience of this thing, and it's changed the trajectory of my whole life now. And I'm not saying that you just have to go to Thailand in order to do that, but you immerse yourself in the culture, whether that's you going to make the Thai foods, you know, understanding how these dishes became about, you know, you're listening to movies in Thai now, you know what I'm saying? You're listening to music in Thai. You're understanding the culture in a dip, you know what I'm saying? Not just reading about it, you're immersed in it. Ninth house is immersion, you know? Sagittarius, you know, when Sagittarius goes on that long journey, baby, Sagittarius is like, yeah, and I did this, and this, and I went here. And now preachy Sagittarius will be like, and these are some of the things I learned. Oh, be fun. That's preachy Sagittarius. Now Sagittarius just in his energy is like, I'm just speaking from experience, you know. This is just some of the things I did. You know what I mean? Yes, connecting the dots and puzzles to life. For sure. Connecting the dots and puzzles. Well, I thought about this in this way, but now because I've lived the experience, I went there, I could see it in this way, or I could see how people think now like this, or my perspective has changed because I went to that place and now I know this is how it is. You know what I mean? For example, for me, community, right? Being out here in Mexico, like I thought I knew community in America. I thought I knew what community was in America until I came to Mexico. Community looks different in Mexico. All right? It looks completely different. The way people care for each other, how communities look after each other, you know, with little to no resources sometimes. You feel me? Like, but they come together, they share, you know what I'm saying? So these are some of the things you could see with Uranus in the 9th house. Now, if you have if you have Uranus in the 10th house, 10th house is the Capricorn house. This has to do with your, so there is no greater truth than your life experience. Exactly. No greater truth than your life experience. You have to live it to be it. You have to live it to be it. You know, you got to be it to live it, right? Vice versa. You could talk about it all day long, but until you actually in the field, it's literally just, what is it? What is it giving? What is it giving? What is it giving for real? So put yourself in the position when you can. 10th house is Capricorn house. This has to do with the legacy. This has to do with the foundations. This has to do with, I would say, the ways in which you are seen in the public eye. This also has to do, not only does it have to do with the public eye, your mission, your vision, the highest point of your chart in life. This has to do with career, but if this is like a westernized way of looking at it, more so the legacy that you are leaving behind, okay? Usually Uranus in the 9th house, this has to do, especially if you're on this channel, humanitarian pursuits. I'm not saying y'all ain't trying to get y'all coin in this particular capitalist world, okay? But on this channel, what is the meaning of it all, okay? What is the greater, higher meaning of the long game of this here with Uranus in the 10th house? Changes in public spaces. So you're the type of person that will go into a public space. For example, you could go into like a corporation, right? Institution, and change the complete trajectory of that institution. Now you might have a couple ops, you might have a couple agent Smiths even, all right? But just know that you are being sent as an agent from the divine, all right? I don't think I mentioned that because Uranus is also the divine, Neptune as well, as a divine agent, an agent of change, an agent to shift that particular place. So if you notice, when you go into these specific places, i.e. example of an institution or a corporation or a space, you notice when you leave, it's never the same, okay? Even if you got to leave, it's never the same after you've walked out of it, okay? Whether that ends in like positive shifts or negative shifts that turn into positive shifts because you were there, because you were placed there, okay? Your public status, being in the public eye, a lot has to do with communal or humanitarian pursuits or something that has to do with the greater collective. The ways, shifting the ways in which we see our communities, shifting the ways in which we see our, I would even just say just humanity in the status quo. So this is where you see somebody that's speaking out publicly, whether that's through the internet about like society and how we can make the community a better place, the world a better place, but also putting those things into action, all right? 10th house is about that action, all right? For example, let's say you have Uranus in the 10th house, and I don't know, I'm thinking of, I can't remember his name, but he's based out of LA, and he runs a co-op space. It's like a planters co-op, and a green planters co-op space. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's basically to grow like green self-growing plants and greens and stuff like that, vegetables, fruits, water, clean, purifying rainwater and stuff like that in communities in LA. I forget his name at the moment. When I do have his name, I'll definitely put his information down because it's a dope ass initiative. But he's basically making these farmers gardens. It's a black man, farmers gardens in LA. And he's, growing all types of seeds and vegetables and all kinds of stuff, collecting rainwater. And it's basically based on like a membership. So people who pay into that membership or whatever the case may be, I haven't read all the details of it, but I have seen like the outskirts of it or whatever. They pay into that membership and they can receive free foods, vegetables, all that kind of stuff. It circulates around the community. He teaches you how to grow it. He teaches you how to take care for it. It's all of that. All right. So it's taking small farmers or farmers, basically getting the farmers back involved in the communities and not just making it about corporations and institutions. So that's an example that Uranus in the 10th house can be ushering in with Uranus here. It's taking an idea, revolutionary an idea, and basically bringing it in for the greater good of humanity, if we're here, all right? Not saying everybody has the intentions, but it's the greater good of humanity. So we can circulate this thing forward, because if we ain't all free until everybody free, as they say, all right? So this is what you can see here with Uranus in the 10th house. Just kind of going against the grain, fostering growth, fostering change, setting new and establishing new foundations, especially when it comes to like publicly in your career and things like that. Now, if you do have Uranus in the 11th house, All right, Uranus in the 11th house. Uranus generally in the 11th house, or the 11th house energy, is the Aquarius house. Okay, this has to do with long-term goals, dreams, wishes, and things like that. This has to do with your friendship groups. This has to do with the collectives that you are involved with as well here too. And this has to do with communities that you are associated with. This has to do with institutional organizations, or just organizations in general. This could be like even a grassroots organization and things like that that you are involved with. Uranus here shakes those things up, okay? Your plans could briefly and quickly do a lot of changing, okay, when it comes to like I would say the greater goals in which the things that you want to do in life, all right? Friendships as well. You can have like a group of friends with this energy, and then, you know, eventually like that group of friends maybe shifts and changes throughout the years, you know what I mean? You know, or maybe you are doing something from like a collaborative pursuits and things like that. So maybe you collaborate with many different people in your life here with Uranus in the 11th house. Goals will change, long-term plans and goals will change. Do not be afraid of the shifts. Do not be afraid of the changes and things like that. It's a natural part of life. It's a natural part of your life's path here, so you can know how to pivot when it is time. Also too, like I said, collective groups and organizations, very eccentric pursuits that you might take and routes of collective and humanitarian pursuits. Like I said, very grassroots pursuits can happen here with Uranus in the 11th house. You might have groups of people from different walks of life that also come and join you in your pursuits, whether it's people from different countries, people from different life paths. Like I said, just very different backgrounds, but coming together for a greater purpose or a greater cause. So you could see here with the 11th house as well. Now, if you have Uranus in the 12th house, all right, this is the Piscean house, is the endings of new beginnings. This has to do with spirituality. This has to do with the subconscious mind. This has to do with your ancestors. This has to do with your spiritual knowledge. This has to do with your hidden fears, hidden emotions, past lives here as well too. This honestly has a lot to do with your mental energy as well. There could be a lot of mental instability also to your dreams. This could be some mental instability can be happening here in thoughts with Uranus here. You can have some very vivid, very powerful dreams with Uranus here as well too in the 12th house. Dreams, astral projection, astral travel could be a big theme here. There could have been some, like, maybe even for some, maybe your lifespan was cut short. I know Pluto is not here specifically in the 12th house, unless you do have Pluto here, but Uranus could definitely be, maybe you had like something wild that transpired in your 12th house that maybe cut you off at a very early age, or cut your lifespan off maybe at an early place. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case for everybody. Or maybe you had like very like powerful spiritual gifts and abilities that you weren't not able to necessarily, not Pluto, but Scorpio, Uranus in the, very powerful spiritual abilities that could have developed in a past life. If we talk about the past times and things like that, I like to think of, Uranus energy because it was so other in some people's eyes, or different in people's eyes. A lot of people I see sometimes are usually shunned for their spiritual gifts and abilities. These are people who had to live probably like in or outside of the walls of society. And if they didn't live outside the walls of society, maybe that they had to live in different spaces and places. Like this is like back of the wood healers, or for some people, this is people who have lived in like an asylum. you know, or lived in like, you know, 12th house also has to do with hospitals. So maybe you were put in like a hospital space or something like that because you had these gifts and abilities, and you know, people are like, how could you? Or you have prophetic dreams, things like that, that shocked people. You know, Uranus brings a shocking element to it. So these are some of the things that could have came up with, you know, 12th house energy here. So I would even go to say, because like I said, 12th house can be fears. Try to think of some of the phobias that you might have. Like if there's any type of like phobias that you might have, or things that you're like inherently like just scared out of your mind of, really question why that is. Like allow yourself to be like, why am I scared of those things? Why do those things make me feel uneasy? Why every time I do this thing, it kind of gets me like a little jolted a little bit or a little fidgety? Like question why that is, because maybe specifically in your past life, you've been through some type of experience that maybe jolted the system a little bit. Maybe jolted the spur. All right, maybe jolted the spur a little bit. And you immediately have to go revisit as well here too. Very individuality is very big here for Uranus in the 12th house as well here too. You kind of want to go your own way. Also too, this is where you can see somebody who might have even, if not traveled the distance, if they didn't travel the distance, you can see somebody who lives at a distance, especially with Uranus in the 12th house as well here too. Lived in like a foreign place or away from their family dynamic. It doesn't have to necessarily be overseas. It could be overseas. Most likely overseas. Pluto also as well too. But specifically Uranus, or you live maybe away or strained from your family dynamic, or you live at a distance from your family, or maybe you've had like a sudden move or had to move suddenly, specifically with Uranus here in the 12th house as well here too. Now dream traveling, you know, heed, all right? Definitely be an explorer. Just be safe. I would say stay dangerous, but also stay protected in your travels forward and things like that, especially if we're talking about spirituality and connection and ascension to like your ancestry, getting connected to your past lives, getting connected to your ancestry. Also too, I would even recommend from somebody who you know and trust to even maybe get like a past life regression, because there could have been something even tumultuous that happened in your past life that needs to be cleared in this particular life as well with Uranus here. It could have been like something shocking that happened. Maybe there were like some buried secrets about the family members. Maybe like something happened to where maybe your lifespan, you know, something happened and maybe you like, it could be a lot that's happening here, especially with Uranus being placed in the 12th house as well. Or maybe you've had like hidden gifts, like I said, that were suppressed in a previous incarnation that you need to still explore or you need to still bring out. So Uranus is there wanting to liberate you to bring those things out of hiding or bring those things out of suppression, because 12th house is hidden. It's hidden energy. It's where it hides. Like I said, it's the, instead of the 8th house, which is like the basement, 12th house is like the attic, right? Where you have to like go up there and blow off things, blow off, take out the spider webs and things, and like unravel the things and open the books and be like, oh wow, 1865, you know what I mean? So keep that in mind with Uranus in the 12th house here. So that is what I have for Uranus through the signs. Like I said, again, I'll make my good drop. I do have a pre-sale on my course, Exploring Your Moon Sign and Past Lives. We'll be talking a little bit more about your past life incarnation, your moon sign, and the moon nodes. This will be a 5-week series for the Cancer season into Leo season. It'll be only 12 slots available, so you make sure that you get in. We'll also have like a one-on-ones as well too in this course. So if you want to ask any personal questions about your birth chart, or it's specifically to your moon nodes, your north node and south node, things like that, we'll be covering all that in this 5-part series. We'll be at it every Sunday around 1 p.m. EST, and yeah, we'll be basically going from there. So and if there's any like courses or anything like that that y'all would like me to, or would like to explore with me, and we can actually do those courses together, please let me know below in the comments. It's something that you would love to see, something that you would love to explore, something that you would love to hear. Like I said, I know a lot of people come here for Pluto as well. I notice a lot of people come to my channel for like Pluto or Platonic themes, and even moon themes as well too. So let me know what interests you down in the comments below, and I hope that you've enjoyed this series of Uranus. We will finish next week with Neptune through the houses, and then we will jump into evolutionary astrology. Okay, are y'all ready for the evolutionary astrology series? The first thing that we'll be talking about again is evolutionary astrology, more so like the moon nodes and things like that. But we'll also be talking about like things like the Haitian Revolution and how we're in a Pluto and Aquarius transit. And the last time we had the Haitian Revolution was during Pluto and Aquarius. So evolutionary astrology, or like I like to say, cosmic root work astrology, we'll be exploring those themes as well here too. So y'all buckle up, get locked in, and I will see y'all again for the next one next week. And like as always, it's already so checking in and checking out without a doubt. Make sure you check the links below, and I will see y'all on the next one. I already know what it is. Deuces.